Good evening. We are Boomer Rex tonight, and I, as always, have with me Mr. Boomer Rex himself.
You know, she's cheating. She's starting at 9.
No, I'm not.
I had wondered.
And this is his son, Asshole.
Hi.
And I am RisenLadyHeathen. And tonight we have an update for you on the 33 Snowfish book.
Oh, so just to remind you what this is, right?
It's one of the ones they wanted burned.
Yep.
Yeah,
This is a burning book.
But really burned. Like, it's not often. I'm not sure I can really remember the last time that it wasn't done in some form of protest. But, like, really the shitty kind.
Yeah. So they wanted these sexually explicit books banned from libraries in the county. Now understand, these were in high school libraries, right?
Yep.
And then 2 members decided, right, that it wasn't enough to ban them. One of them says, we should throw those books in the fire. And the other one, who I'm sure had noticed it was sexually explicit, says,
Yes.
we want to see those books before we burn them so we can identify within our community that we are eradicating this bad stuff.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I've now read 33 Snowfish cover to cover.
Good.
Right. First of all, if you think that book is sexually explicit, you have lived a very boring and sheltered life.
Ah, so you mean it wasn't good like one of my shitty romance novels?
Yeah, I mean, every romance novel I've ever seen was more sexually explicit than this.
Well, that's kind of the point, though, right?
So
They're
anyway.
romance novels.
The book.
Yes.
The book is a sort of coming of age salvation story.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty dark.
Well, that's good. It's pretty dark times.
Yeah. And the character I thought might draw them all together died. So
Oh, that is
it was
harsh.
bad. Yeah. There was only one survivor.
Hmm.
So I probably zeroed the book for somebody. I'm sorry. Anyway.
What is it, like
Well,
a
the book is-
horror book?
In some ways.
Interesting.
It's about a pretty dark side of life. So.
Huh.
So would you recommend it?
So when I was, by the time I was in 9th grade, I would have read this cover to cover in 3 hours and gone and found another book. But again, I read the 43 free pages, and by then I was hooked on the characters, and so I went and bought the book,
Right.
and read the book. So again, it's engaging enough to make you care about the characters, and you will be sad at some of the outcomes. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So kind of
I've
sort of
read worse on airplane rides and plenty of other things. So.
if you're super
Oh, yeah.
if you're super depressed, maybe stay away from this book, but if you're into horror and that kind of stuff, it sounds like this might be your jam. Do we know who it's by?
Absolutely. It's 33 Snowfish, and the author is Adam Rapp.
Adam Rapp.
R-A-P-P. And it's
Oh,
on Amazon. You
that
can get it for
sounds-
Kindle.
Amazing. I like it.
I got it for idiotically cheap. I'm not sure why. I used some credits, whatever. Anyway, I don't keep track of that
yay.
stuff.
Yeah, no, sounds
Yeah.
good. If you guys are interested in that kind of thing, please go pick it up. You
If
know,
nothing else, you can read it and enjoy knowing that someone somewhere is getting a
Thought
headache.
it was sexually explicit and should
Yeah.
be burned.
yeah, no,
And then you can laugh at those
share
people.
share
You
with
better
everybody.
than a burned copy. So
Oh, God.
All
Anyway.
right, so I
Yes.
want to real quick do Asshole had
What I
sent me an opinion piece today on Salon, and it was written by Andrew O'Hare. Hare? H-E-H-I-R? Hare?
Don't know.
Anyway, and so
like, comment, and subscribe for more guessing and names from us.
so the name of this piece is called Democrats and the Dark Road Ahead. There's hope if we look past 2022 and maybe 2024 as well. So what I'm going to say is that normally I would break this down, right, and turn it into a whatever. Tonight I decided that this is such a well-written piece that I didn't want to have to pick it apart and get the information out of it and kind
Okay.
of plagiarize the shit out
So
of
you're
it.
just going to recommend it?
Instead, what I'm going to do is recommend it, and I have 2 passages from it that I would like to read, quote verbatim, okay? And then I figure I'll read one, we can talk about it, I'll read the next one, and so that way you guys have an idea of what to expect.
Will
when you
YouTube
read
let
this.
us link it in a comment?
I can certainly do that, yeah. So we will do that so that you can easily find this yourself. And actually, I'm gonna copy the link now so I don't lose it. Now that you've said that, because I have a habit of.
Do we need to fill
losing
in
stuff.
while you're screwing around with the link?
No,
Nope,
if you're
I
really
haven't.
quiet, it's great. We're
Okay.
So
These
okay,
great
so-
silences are when people
Yeah.
get to think about what we've already talked about.
well, that's when they should be liking,
and plan
commenting,
to
and
go read
subscribing.
Right.
like,
Free
comment,
Snowfish.
subscribe. Okay, so the first quote is, and again, this is verbatim. At least Joe Manchin is both blatantly corrupt and trapped in his own depression bootstrap fantasy of the past. The living specimen of the conservative Democrats who were a major power bloc well into my 1970s childhood. And at least Kristen Sinema is flamboyantly and performatively corrupt, the out bisexual Gen X senator with the deliberately mismatched outfits for the sort of fashion magazines used to call kinky. Kicky? Inhaling whopping sums from the big pharma, and voting down a minimum wage increase on her way to the They Might Be Giants reunion concert. If they ever officially broke up, I'm not sure, but I bet the gentle lady from Arizona knows.
Damn.
No, it's scathing but honest.
Yeah.
They're
And
both scum.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, and we've been talking a lot about them, and that
Yep.
that excerpt I found particularly intriguing with the discussions we've had about both of those people.
well, I loved her little curtsy while she was voting no on whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you look at that and go, I'm sorry.
It's the next.
This is your high school salutatorian, not
It's
valedictorian,
dumber than that. Dumber
salutatorian.
than
The
that.
girl who could spell.
No. Dumber than that.
Dumber than
This
that?
is what reality television did.
Mm-hmm.
This
Okay.
is the fucking
So
kids
she's
from
a
the.
Kardashian.
This is no. I wish, because those are just hollow echoes of. This is if the kids from MTV's The Real World
Okay.
became politicians. This is just the most horrible and audience.
This is very expensive cosplay.
Well, and this description of her is extremely apt and correct. She really is just flippant.
She just
and-
likes being the center of attention.
Um,
She likes
but-
the money.
But
So the hell with her.
cultured in the same way that is it John Edwards? Who was our vice president or whichever that was?
Dan Quayle?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, no, he's the one who they put a Timex watch on because they spend more money. The people who do this for a living make a great deal of money doing this for a living. So you know exactly where they fall on every one of the issues before they
Sure.
even open their mouth.
Yeah.
These are the same people who made the study of the fact that if you give someone a science lab coat and a couple of credentials,
Yeah.
people think they're a doctor. They don't have to say anything. They never say the word
It's
doctor.
just an assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, it's everything that made con artistry taken into the lab and run through a mass spectrometer and
Yep.
really brought into a studied.
Oh my God,
Art.
she's a made-for-TV special.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Hey, so
exactly.
mentioned,
Yeah.
right? He calls his yacht a houseboat because houseboats the kind of thing poor people don't
Yeah.
throw Molotov cocktails at.
So
Don't throw things at each other on the internet.
right. So anyway, so I'm gonna move on to the next quote, and you guys actually might have a lot more to say about this particular one. So in this, and again, I quote exactly as well as I can read. I really and truly don't know what will happen in 2024 because there's a lot of terrain to traverse before we get there. Joe Biden, if he runs again, will have the built-in advantage of incumbency, and there's no reason to believe that every single tendency of the political reality has been reversed just because you know who won that election that one time. But we might as well face it. It's definitely within the realm of possibility that Donald Trump returns to power, either by his own skin or by way of some mini or micro Trump running as his minion or puppet, but yearning to break free. It could happen through legitimate means, thanks to the absurd and antiquated Electoral College, or through flat-out fraud and quasi-constitutional legislative override and throwing the election into the House of Representatives, which hasn't happened since the white dudes with beards era of the 19th century.
Yep. The Republicans are working very hard to take us beyond democracy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Well, and it's the corporations have been hanging carrots out in front of crazy
yep.
for a generation now. That
Yep.
when you
They aren't going to like what happens when crazy is in charge.
no one is.
No, and a lot of what this piece talks about is that, yeah, things are probably going to get pretty bad and really dark. However, if we can kind of stamp through this, right, and kind of ride it out, but keep on focusing on the things that are important, keep on getting out there and voting, doing your part, pushing things, that eventually we will come out the other side of this and hopefully be able to make some actual change that America really needs.
I admit that's the hope.
And that's what this piece is
Okay.
about.
Well,
Is it tells you all the dark, bad things, but then it says, but there's some good stuff maybe if we don't give up. And that's
No,
what,
there's a path forward, and we'll talk about it later, but
Yeah.
it requires that the Democratic Party get its head out of its ass.
Oh, yeah. And there was...
Its head out of its corporatist ass.
Oh, yeah. And the writer alludes to... I lost my train of thought. But basically, the writer alludes to different things like, there possibly being another party that could come out of this on the other end. Doesn't actually say anything, but says maybe a more social democratic socialist style thing might come out on the other side. We'll see.
It's the scaling of the numbers is the effect they're looking at, right? That to move the needle X amount, you're going to have to put Y amount of force into it.
Right.
And
you've got the Republicans doing everything they can to suppress those votes.
yeah,
Right? And to take the decision away from the voters and put it in the hands of their politicians.
it's the official undoing of
It's
the
the end of democracy.
17th
is what it
Amendment,
is.
which is the one that gave us senators.
Yeah.
No, because that's what it is. That's
So we'll come
that's the
back to
level
that.
of change we should talk about.
Because there's a path forward, again, if the Democrats can get their heads out of their corporate.
Yeah, no, you should read this article. You would really like it because it mentions all those things that you're bringing up now. So it definitely, it's a good read. I highly recommend it. We'll put a link to it in the comments. But yeah, no, read it. It's good. It's a good read, and it's got a lot of information in there. But I think this is a good segue. You wanted to talk about swing voters.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, we'll come back to that. Right now, we're going to laugh at a bad actor.
Okay.
So
Are they an actual actor? Or are they just bad?
it's just a bad actor.
Okay.
I'm not going to use the clown's name.
Fine.
A lot of these people want recognition.
What happened?
Screw them. So this clown parks his personal Jeep in the view of the surveillance system, right?
Oh, yes.
Carries a gas can full of accelerant up to the door of the Beth Israel congregation, right? Sets it on fire. Does about $25,000 worth of damage. But so there's video of him walking up to the door and then running away after the fire starts and so on. So, and he's driving his personal Jeep. And the way they know he was driving his personal Jeep is when he did his recon run, he was also on the surveillance video,
Of course.
and his license plate was visible, which is why he's been arrested and charged.
This is the guy that started off by throwing a brick through the window, right? Or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Or was that another business?
That's probably another business.
But yeah, I remember seeing this thing about it. Similar
So this is a
situation.
great guy. They were out.
Yeah.
They were out doing swastikas with gasoline and lighting it.
Yeah. Later the same night.
They've been hassling trick or treaters.
Wearing the same clothes.
As Donald Trump would say, very fine people, very fine people. Oh God. So anyway,
No, fuck these people.
the clown's been charged,
Good.
and they got him pretty good.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, that I like that. That's good.
Yep. So while we're talking about the future,
Right.
right? We tend to treat QAnon as a sad little joke, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
people too stupid to walk and chew gum. But at some point, you have to start recognizing that these are some very, very crazy people.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
yeah, and yeah.
And they're pooling a lot of their time and effort into things that when they're sitting there looking at the ash hill that is their life,
Yeah.
if they catch on fire, it's going to be a problem.
Well, and planning violence to prove that they're in charge of something.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Like you do.
Ben Collins, who's
No,
a reporter for
don't,
NBC
Internet.
News,
Don't do that.
says that they believe the end point of their religion is reached when Donald Trump takes back control of America, unleashes the police to mass arrest elected and other high-profile Democrats and QAnon followers that engage in an orgy of violence and murder against Democratic Party-aligned neighbors, friends, and family.
Yeah.
Right? This is a doomsday cult.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Doomsday
for
cults
sure.
are not uncommon, right? But QAnon is a doomsday cult.
Well, but what
Donald Trump is their candidate for a second
do
coming.
we know what percentage of, like, say, Republicans are QAnon?
We know that more than half of the people who showed up for the insurrection on January the 6th are QAnon associated.
Right. So
Right. So these are the Sturmabteilung of the Republican Party.
what's that?
Brown shirts.
Okay. For those of us who
This
may not
was-
know.
Okay. The Sturmabteilung was Hitler's thug army.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we're talking Nazis here. Cool.
Yeah. So
Everybody has them. It's a fascist fixing.
Fascist regime,
yeah.
regime type thing. Yeah.
sometimes the shirts aren't brown. Right now,
Idi
the
Amin
shirts
had
are,
guys, and
They're
it's
khakis
the
and
model
white-
they'll probably
Wait,
follow.
polos, right?
they're
Based on
cosplay.
what they post and the thing, if you want to like quote and actually be the interesting part, they're much closer to Idi Amin's secret police, who wore Hawaiian floral shirts
Okay.
and white. Right, they really stood out because you don't need trench coats and spooky when you're just the secret police.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like.
But again, when you look at this doomsday cult, right? So already, one of their members murdered two of his children, right?
This
Because
is
What?
They were
When
gonna
did that
turn
happen?
into
murdered two of
lizards.
his children because they had serpent DNA,
What?
and he needed to save the world from them.
Yep.
What do you mean, what?
One word.
You're acting like
crazy.
there's a logical explanation.
I
was
always
fucking
assume
crazy.
there's a
This
logical
was
explanation
someone
because
who
that's just how my brain
mainlines
works.
the
I
internet.
can't.
Right.
Right.
This is the algorithm.
Yeah, it's just, again, as we said, more than half of those who stormed the Capitol were QAnon.
Hardcore QAnoners.
Hard to say core. There's certainly QAnon followers. So
Well, and it's the problem with QAnon because at some level it basically is just a lie that promises to be your best friend, and whatever bullshit you already believed.
Well,
right, is numbers important
and
to you?
they've
There's a
got Facebook-
QAnon numerology.
and they've got Facebook actively
Oh, yeah.
serving you the next
Everyone's
dose.
serving them.
Right.
Right. TikTok going for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you look at the list of stuff, right? Like blocking Hoover Dam with an armored vehicle,
Yep.
smashing up a chapel,
They've written out a
while
whole.
shrieking that the Catholic Church is taking part in human trafficking of children.
That's probably true.
Yeah, that's probably closer to truth than we ever want to discuss.
I think the history of the church, but no, not the way. I'm sure not the way that one's thinking.
No,
Right.
no, all right.
You got multiple non-custodial parents kidnapping their children,
That was the
and
one.
then wrapping themselves in the sovereign citizen
Uh-huh.
flag and presenting the police with the
So-
piece of paper that can prevent the police from arresting them, and being shocked when they're arrested and dragged off to jail.
Of course.
Stop. That actually warrants a bigger notice because law
Okay.
enforcement will tell you sovereign citizen believers are actively dangerous.
Oh yeah, no, we don't-
Sovereign citizen people get treated like someone high on cocaine with gun dangerous, or meth. Like this is. Right. If anyone's going to be violent, it is these people because they fully believe. These are the ones where whenever I laugh and to be rude, I talk about fluoride and the fringe on the flag makes this an admiralty court, and I can't be tried for the same thing twice in an admiralty court. That's where I get it from. It's a sovereign citizen argument. It's part of the why you don't have to pay taxes if you can play a violin with your foot, or I don't know, because it just turns to gibberish so
Yeah.
fast.
So what else have we got? Oh yeah, invading a pizza parlor in D.C., right? Armed,
To self
right? Looking
investigate.
for a basement that doesn't exist,
Of course.
right? And I think that's happened a couple of times.
Well, because weren't they being all whatever about the 9/11, or that might have not been QAnoners, but I think it bled into the QAnon thing later,
Oh yeah,
where they
all
thought that
of
Hillary
this,
owned
all-
that pizza place,
all-
and
Yeah.
that they were
Yeah.
killing
No, that
children
was
in the
standard
basement or
QAnon.
something.
That was
Yeah.
standard QAnon.
Okay,
Um,
so it was kind
That
of
was
like
actually
their
in the
early
basement.
roots.
That's
their
how you
early
can identify
roots, yeah.
QAnon. It's like that game Beautiful Katamari. You just roll a bigger ball, and eventually you can roll over cats and ships and all kinds of stuff. And QAnon does that. If you believe anything, there's a flow chart to how this is exactly that thing.
it's the same way every conquering religion
Yes.
dealt with previous religions. Oh yeah, yeah, your God's on our list. He's a servant.
Yeah, that's a
He's
trick
big
by the
God.
lizard people who were
And,
working with the Knights Templar
Yeah, and all of
to hide the Christian bloodline.
Yeah,
No, it's full on.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's every door on the internet labeled crazy going to one spot now. I used to go to a forum that had hijacked a bunch of really crazy URLs, like racist ones and terrorist ones and all kinds of stuff,
Yep.
and it fed to one online forum.
Right.
That was an interesting place to see some arguments. Because there was actually some interesting people and some really disturbingly crazy humans.
Right.
And this is that if you just didn't do any of the sane things.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah. So now you got these people. They're plotting to blow up satanic displays.
and there's no telling what they'll decide.
They're
That'll land on.
derailing trains. One of them
Yeah.
blew himself up to stop the lizard people.
Oh, it's always the lizard people, man.
Why
What
it
is
always
the origin of the lizard people?
I remember hearing.
Okay,
some
I have to say a
president
thing, and I want
supposedly-
everyone to understand because this is internet. Don't fucking clip me on this.
Don't at us.
It's bathroom scroll for the Jews,
Okay.
which is why at some level Israel has blocked a couple of the real crazies because their whole shtick is the lizard people, and it goes to
Okay.
Bilderberg real fast. It's all about
Oh
the
my God.
Rothschilds. It's
Not okay.
It's just
aggressively not
madness.
okay.
It's the coast to coast AM shit. But like these people weren't working security and just like, how crazy can a human be? Oh, there they go.
You know, it's almost like they've got a staff that is amusing themselves by writing the next crazy thing to sell to people.
And a lot of it, that's I'm sure how so much
I
of this
think it
started.
probably is.
Because like Creepypasta, which is just this warehouse of really bad internet
Yeah.
fiction. Same thing.
terrible.
Right? This is there's a sex base on Mars and blah 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 and
Yeah.
why? Like
I love it.
who's gonna go to that level of trouble?
Yeah, and meanwhile, the QAnoners are out chasing and ramming cars, right, in pursuit of completely imaginary pedophiles,
Oh yeah.
right? I mean,
You've
just
actually seen a
nutsy.
lot of like QAnon adjacent stuff. If you've seen like violent TikToks towards pedophiles, a lot of that's aimed by the same energies.
Oh God, that's
Yep.
They kidnap. They just shanghaied the Save the Children hashtag.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, they're media savvy. Big chunks of this are almost certainly someone's cyber warfare division.
Well, or
But-
somebody who's making money on the QAnon Nazis.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the other thing is it all leads back to the drink bleach, worm paste, the usual suspects. If you're taking my ultra vitamins, not theirs, because theirs makes the gay frogs.
And ours are only
Yeah.
$90 a month. So,
Yeah, no, and money for
and
my
the
special.
first, the first 30 people who
Yeah.
order get it for half price.
And look, I've got a limited supply. I can only sell 100 of these.
You know, if they've got a
Barnabas
machine,
Mint
if
dollars.
they've got a machine monitoring this, we just got put off YouTube.
Oh well.
Buy the internet. It's
No,
good
because
fun.
it'll process it and it'll tell me if there's any issues, so we're good.
Yeah.
Canceled by robots.
Oh my God.
If we get kicked off for this, people, we'll just come in under another name. It's fine.
Cancel Will Robinson.
So if you also look at the number of QAnoners from the insurrectionist crowd, a number of them have prior history of mental
Yep.
difficulties.
Well, and
right?
this
That-
is sad because this also leads into a big problem we're having with people in general, and mental health issues, right? Nobody's willing to come forward and say, hey, I need help. And we're starting to get there. We're talking about it more, but I don't feel like we're
I
quite
promise
there
you
yet.
it's the sane people who are talking about it, because the crazy ones don't think they need help.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing is that
But
if it wasn't so much like a, stigma, right? If you get labeled, slapped with one of these mental illness things, then maybe it wouldn't be as much.
no, I completely agree with that. But I'm telling you, the ones who need help will be the last ones to ask for it.
Well, yeah, because again, they're delusional in their own head, and
Yes.
they truly believe these things.
Yeah.
So,
But again, I think what we're watching is that the various social media allow the mentally ill to find and amplify each other.
yes.
But that explains a lot, because I know, Q-tards, and they send me these videos from YouTube to watch.
Oh,
And you watch them and your mouth just hangs open, because in the first 5 minutes, there are 7 provably false statements.
Yeah.
Right? That, you hear it and you go, no, that isn't true. I know that's not true. And you go Google it. No, it's not true. It's never been true. Right?
Well, and
It's
cheap
just
sources
part of
or
their
other
oral
things
history.
that would make you just stop, right? Well, because it matches with this thing that so-and-so got when they channeled the ghost of, wait, shut up,
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
hold on.
No.
No, what did you just say to me? No,
And it's
exactly. Or
it's things
numerology, or
that are so stupid that you look at them and say, no sane person can believe this.
Right.
And you begin to realize the problem is you're not dealing with sane people,
Nope.
No, and it's sad.
which is going to make them hard to talk to.
Yeah. No,
Anyway,
it's crazy.
I think probably the statement at the beginning of what their goals are in this orgy of violence and murder is probably overstated. But we
Only because
haven't
they're
had
not
a
likely
9-month.
to devolve that much power. That
Well, we haven't had 9 months of Donald Trump drumming up exactly that response prior to voting. So we'll see.
yeah,
But is there a way home? We always talk about swing voters, and very frequently the answer is there's no damn such thing as a swing voter.
yeah, it hasn't been the '90s for a while, guys.
Yeah, turns out
Dun dun dun.
there are swing voters,
Okay.
right? But they're not the people you think they are. Right? If you look at
So
the
they're not security moms. They're not.
the security moms are the 90s.
I know.
Right?
Well, early
Okay.
2000s, I'd figure, but yeah.
Yeah. And the soccer moms.
Yeah, I guess they were the 90s,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's from the college educated crowd.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're fighting over the suburbs.
Yeah. And with the, shit. We follow politics like it's a sport.
It should be full contact. It'd be great. Paul Ryan, you get to sit out there. Or no, Rand Paul.
Rand Paul.
You get to sit out the first round because you had that
You've
horrible
already
off-season
done the full
accident.
contact politics. No,
Season
and
2, however.
I'm sorry. I'm all for full contact politics. I wish the Democrats had stopped thinking they're playing
who
flag
does it?
ball.
We saw this video recently about it was a country, right? And this country, the way they handle things, like in their they vote for people and everything, right? And then how these people that are voted for handle like fights and disputes is they literally just brawl. They yell and scream at each other. They throw things at each other. They get into these wrestling, like they wrestle with each other, and it just devolves into this amazing thing to watch. God, I wish I could remember. Singapore was? I don't know. I'll have to
Oh,
look
it's
it
very
up.
popular
But
in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. It's amazing. I love it.
I had an Iranian friend at one of the universities I went to, and a very decent guy who was very unpleasantly surprised by what happened when the Shah was overthrown. He had expected freedom, and that's not what happened. But anyway, so he was being sued by his landlord, or was suing his landlord. I don't remember who sued who. So he has a court date.
Yeah.
And so 3 or 4 of us go with him to court because, he's from Iran, and, he doesn't know anything about American courts, and we know next to nothing, but we know more than he does.
Right.
We literally had to grab him and physically restrain him because he wouldn't stop shouting.
Huh.
And the judge was just furious.
Yeah.
And we finally got control of him and got a hand over his mouth. And the judge ruled in his favor.
Oh.
And so we're taking him out of court and we're saying, what the hell did you think you were doing? And he explained that in Iranian courts, the ones who shout loudest win.
Oh, wow.
And they bring all their friends to shout and so forth. And
Oh, so
we're
that's
going-
why he thought you guys were going with him, was
I
to
know.
back him up. And you
I
guys are sitting there holding him down like, shut up, man, shut
He
up.
must have been. Well,
So
after the judge
confused.
tells you to shut up, you should probably shut up.
That's certainly true.
I
Most
just-
of the time, just don't talk.
Yeah, well, and the thing was, we knew he had won because the judge let him get 3/4 of the way through his story. You see the judge's face harden, and he says, "That's enough. I understand what's happening here." And then Sam got louder, and we're saying, "No, shut up, you won, shut up." God damn it. And then he was yelling.
You need to take it up with you now, buddy.
Yeah.
Or
Anyway.
let's go some other way.
So, yeah, it happens like that. So anyway, all of us who follow politics as a sport, with the levels of tribalization we've got going, we've all chosen a team, right? There are no swing voters in the college-educated, workaday soccer mom world,
Yeah.
right? That's just done. Security moms maybe a little bit back and forth, but not enough to worry about.
That's a year-on-year game.
No, your swing voters, it turns out. Your swing voters are blue collar,
Yeah.
right? And the sense in which they're swing voters, if you get them real fired up, they'll come vote for you.
Right.
If the other team gets them real fired up, they'll come vote against you. But most of the time, they stay home, right?
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is you need to get them fired up. And you say, all right, what plays with the swing voters, right? Who's likely to get them if we really get into it and try to go get them? And first and foremost, and you can just see they elected Barack Obama twice.
Yeah.
Then they elected Donald Trump. Then they elected Joe Biden. And last week in Virginia,
So they want
right?
change.
They
for the
elected a
better.
Republican. Well, they want specific kinds of change, it turns out, and you
Oh,
nice. Yep. So big poll on this, and I can give you a link to it. It takes a huge grassroots organizing effort to get them out. It needs to be labor or union centered, right? And there's no programmatic solution, but there are some things you can do to help. You know who their ideal candidate is?
Who's that?
It's a small business owner.
Oh.
Why? Because small business owners are kind of down with the working folks, right?
Yeah.
And they have some experience and so forth. Next to that, veteran teacher, right? For God's sake, don't tell them you're a rich corporate
All the
asshole.
Right.
Duplo jobs.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the sound bites that performs pretty well is that our freedom is under threat from radical socialists, arrogant liberals, and dangerous foreign influences. That's the second best performing sound bite. The best performing sound bite is this country belongs to all of us, not just to the super rich. But for years, politicians in Washington have turned their backs on people who work for a living.
Yes.
We need tough leaders who won't give in to millionaires and the lobbyists and will fight for good jobs, good wages, and guaranteed access to affordable health care for every single American.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way to go, Americans.
Yeah.
Well,
you got me.
Way to choose the
I'm in.
Democratic Party line
Right.
if we can shut the fucking corporatists up. Yep. So, working class swing voters tend to favor generous versions of Medicare, Social Security, etc. But they also respond positively to candidates who talk about cutting government spending. And I think the way around that is to say, people keep talking about cutting government spending, and it's always coming out of your pocket. The problem is not that we need to cut government spending. The problem is we need to tax the fucking rich.
Yes.
Right? They need to pay their fair share.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And of course, the obvious comment, don't say Medicare for all. Say access to affordable health care.
Right.
Right? Anyway.
Yeah, they want to pay their
These
way,
are things that they're afraid of Medicare for all because they see the That is, government taking over their health care.
Oh, when there's 2 or 3 good specific operations that we subsidize heavily so they look really good on paper. It's the trick with the 5-year survival rate on cancer. It's a number of things.
Yeah.
The same reason that you always hear it about whenever you want to push people against insurance, you make it about choice.
Yeah. So, make clear it's about choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Access to affordable health care for all.
Or devil take the hindmost.
Right. So again, if you go back and read that most popular soundbite, that could be the Democratic Party platform. We have to shut up Joe Manchin. We have to get rid of Kristen Sinema, right? Just silence her. Take away all her committees. I don't think you can do that in the Senate, sadly. I think it's all, the good news is it's all seniority and she has none.
Tag them both. My concern, the problem with Manchin is since he's been there for a bit, is I do not want to create another. Who was the one that would have run with McCain? Lieberman. Right. If we go after him and he switches to Republicans and they don't, if they can pump him through a primary, he gets to have jumped ship and be rude to us the whole time.
I'd like to see us primary him and beat him straight up, but I'm not sure we can.
No, exactly. I haven't seen anyone who seems like they've actually gone and looked at the numbers.
And I think you keep I'd be advertising in West Virginia about his houseboat and then showing him pictures.
Yes.
I'd be advertising in West Virginia about him saying, well, no, family medical leave, time off. No, that nobody needs that. That's silly. And these are all things that his constituents need.
And want.
And
overwhelmingly.
Yep. And he's opposing it because that's what his rich owners told him to do.
Yeah.
Well, and what you have to remember is part of the reason why the Democrats lost was it the Virginia election, I think it was, recently?
Yep. Yes.
So the reason why they lost that was because the Democratic runner was running on "I'm not Trump," and that's not a good base. Nobody cares about that anymore, right? Like you're not going to win any. So
and
Democrats,
the Republican was running on the same platform,
right? Yeah. Democrats need to stop. Just having these kind of
the Democrats need to learn
things out.
That re-thug light doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right, that America's done with
that. I don't have any plans, but at least I'm better than that guy. That's not going to win you elections, Democrats. Shut
Go
up.
out and tell America
STFU.
what you can do for Americans.
Yes.
And how we're going to pay for it.
Yes.
For God's sake. When we were taxing the rich, we had a surplus. We built the interstate. We went to the moon. Come on, fellas.
If America really was better to relieve it to Beaver, go back to that tax bracket.
Yeah.
The rest will sort out that way it was supposed to.
It absolutely will.
We can talk about the next thing next.
Right.
Right. Or same with minimum wage. That's minimum wage is an easier push, and I know that it really does motivate the left base without antagonizing the right base.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, because most of the people on the right agree with it in one form or another. Whether they understand it or not, it doesn't. Nobody's against raising the minimum wage. So let's fucking
except the
there.
corporations and the Chamber of Commerce.
Right, but those aren't really
all those
people. Those are
they're the ones who are going to run the
0.5%.
Those are the ones who are going to run the commercials about you've worked hard all your life to learn the things that you've learned and to be in the position that you're making $17 an hour. And now they want to make these completely untrained high school students make more than you.
Low skill jobs.
Okay, but they do understand that means they're going to be making more.
No, they don't understand
right?
that. Not at all.
Why you can always get EMTs and the baby rung of kind of making it.
Yep.
And
the right thing to say to them is, well, first of all,
you
go from 17 an hour to 22 an hour as a minimum, right? But if they want you to do your harder job for $22 an hour, when you can literally work at McDonald's and make the same, screw them. Go work at McDonald's. It's easier.
Yeah, they'll raise the wages and you can go back to that after.
You'll have more free time.
Yeah.
So that will all work out. Mm-hmm. So get it on the ballot. But talk about the things that need to happen, right? You've got to have good jobs, good wages, and access to affordable health care for you and your family.
Yeah. If you're making $17-20 an hour, how much, better would you be off if you were making $23 to $26 an hour? People?
Absolutely.
How much happier would that make you? Look at that as raising the minimum wage, because it doesn't just raise the wages of people who are making less than you, it raises your wages as well, just
recognize
automatically.
that the way we've set up our completely useless healthcare system in America, the most common reason for personal bankruptcy is medical bills.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. That's why
this
millennials
is
don't go to the
idiotic.
doctor.
So, and again, we keep talking about, socialized medicine. Well, socialized medicine in Europe has better results across the board and costs half what our system costs. And we don't cover everybody.
No, and because of the preventative care too, right? People are more likely to go to the doctor for things early, so they don't have to have stage 4 cancer and then have to go through that extreme thing.
Americans go to the hospital or to the emergency room when they've been blind in their left eye for 2 days.
Yeah.
Where they're in the middle of the most catastrophic medical emergency they're going to have.
Right.
So we're going to spend half of the money we ever spend on this human right then.
Yeah.
No, when people don't feel good and they think, well, am I, especially with women, is it the flu or a heart attack? Instead of going to the hospital, they're saying, no, it's probably just the flu, and staying home and dying.
Because if they walk through the door of an emergency room, they're going to get a $2,000 bill.
No, exactly.
And 40% of American families can't pay a $400 bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason people don't go to the doctor.
Because it has to be bad, and you're going to lose your job.
Right.
If there's anything wrong with you, yeah, probably.
And that means your insurance.
Assuming you've got insurance associated.
But if you didn't, you're all right. That's the part of the reason why is that we end up a single payer country no matter what we do, because once they're really sick, they're out, and we're paying for all of it.
All right. So if you guys don't mind, was there any other comments you had on this particular subject?
I'm going to go back to the standard. I want the Democratic Party to pull its head out of its corporatist ass.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be nice?
I don't want them to run Wall Street Barbie, which is what they ran last time.
Yeah.
So.
No, if things keep going on this way, I might fucking run for something.
It.
All right.
At least somebody be talking about policy then.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that makes me crazy, is there's a reason why it's all culture war nonsense right now from one side.
Well, because the Republicans have nothing to offer but lower wages, crummy health care, live fast, die young, run up a big bill your family has to pay.
I'm of an age, I feel like I'm old enough to,
Vote?
run. I've been voting for years, but I feel like I could have a strong running here. Maybe I'll vote. Maybe I'll put myself in one of those situations where I'm running against nobody, so I'll just automatically get into whatever.
There are slots like that.
Yeah. So maybe we should look for those. We'll get me into the mix here, and that could be fun. Anyway, so NBC News's Alicia Fieldstedt. Yeah, this is a weird. Tell me how you would pronounce this.
Yeah.
Fieldstedt.
Fieldstadt.
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 S-T-A-D-T is Stadt.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Anyway,
It's
cool
probably
name.
it's probably supposed to be Feldstadt,
Oh, okay.
which is Fieldstadt.
Well, and I know
Deutsch.
nothing about German
Okay.
or any of those types of languages. Guttural language, I'm not good at those. Anyway, so this article is called Black Ohio Police Officer Whose White Chief Put KKK Note on His Coat Breaks His Silence.
Yep.
Oh yeah, this is fun. So this basics of the story is a Sheffield Lake police officer has come forward admitting it was his raincoat that the white police chief left a KKK note on. The video had made the national headlines when it was released. Officer Poole has now come forward to discuss the incident and other alleged demeaning contacts that he had with his chief. He says that the former chief, Anthony Campo, after placing the note, called other white officers to come see the sign. The other officers, not finding the humor in it, walked away. Campo continued to harass Officer Poole by making a KKK-style hat and telling Poole he needed to wear it on his next call. Now, being the first black officer in the department, Campo continued to pick on Poole. Another incident involved a photo of a Grim Reaper with Poole's face and writing underneath saying the Raccoon Reaper. Campo often made remarks about tinted windows to Poole and was known to pull over cars with tinted windows for no reason. It was well known that Campo had issues with gender, sexual orientation, and race. Poole had been an officer for 19 years before working for the Sheffield Lake and had served as a school resource officer for a while. After the initial incident went viral, Campo resigned from his position as police chief, where he had worked for more than 30 years. Poole now has a legal team that filed a discrimination charge with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission and a petition with the state's high court to force the department to provide records that should demonstrate a pattern of race-based harassment involving Campo. This is a situation that many others knew about and saw, but no one did anything to help. Just disgusting.
No adults in the room.
Absolutely disgusting. And, you know,
I was lawyers find a way to target the county, so there's some real money behind this.
because this poor man, you know, and he's obviously not the first to have experienced this type of inappropriateness from this police chief, who was in office for over 30 years. And that's just...
Well, and I wanted to jump in when you said, you know, he's known for pulling over tinted windows for no reason. Nope, there's a reason.
Yeah, it was how
We're just not saying that.
It was how he went after black people.
He went after whoever. Right, the tinted windows made you part of the criminal element, and therefore your rights don't exist.
Right. And so Campo kind of tried to defend himself, saying, "Oh, it was just an off-color joke, and I meant it in good humor, and blah blah blah." And everyone's like, "No,
Not so much.
that's not how this works, because obviously you were trying to cause problems, because he approached Poole on many occasions with just many off-color remarks and just inappropriate things."
There's
And
no story about him
a
and
lot of
Poole
it-
getting together to play a prank on Officer Who's This. There's
Right.
no...
yeah.
Right,
No.
this isn't a benign case of, like, man of a certain age or whatever. This is... He's a problem. I don't know if he was promoted to get him out of the way previously
Get
and
him
just
off the street.
the last one around. I have no idea, but I'm sure he's profoundly a problem. I wish the other gentleman's lawyers
And
luck.
a lot
It's
of
the
this
weird
happened.
feeling.
He hadn't even been with this police department for a year yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of this happened in less than a year. I
Yeah.
mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, and the problem is, right, when you get racist thug leadership, right, it bleeds into the whole department. And you can't have that. You have to do something about it.
No, and the fact that all these other officers knew this was happening, literally saw it happening, and was sitting next to it while it occurred, and nobody thought to be like, "That's bad form, sir." You know what I mean?
You grab the thing and you say, dude, we're going to go check outside right now.
Yeah.
Come on. We
Be
can't
like,
talk in front of
be
everybody
like,
right
"Sir,
now, but we
can I
got to
speak
talk.
to you
Yeah.
in private for a second? I just have a concern I'd like to
What's
address
wrong
with
with
you."
you?
Just pull him aside and just be like, "Dude, WTF, back up."
Do it again, I'm going to
And
put
then
drugs
you
in your
get
coffee.
fired
I know,
the next week.
exactly. No, you
Right?
know
You
this
have
guy
to
did
have
not
faith
maintain
in
a
the
leadership.
system above.
No, but this is a good story of what is truly wrong with some of our police departments, because it's a departmental thing, right?
Yeah.
Not all police departments are bad, but in a situation like this, it's the whole concept of, you know,
What if this
you
went the
can-
other way, right? That it wasn't the chief doing crazy stuff, right? But this chief gets a maniac cop, right? Who starts doing crazier and crazier things.
Yeah. Why aren't you getting rid of them? Yeah.
And how long does the system cover up for something before the system has to cover up for that thing? Because, oh yeah, no, it would be a 10-year period where we just none of the cases we touch should anyone have convicted on.
Right.
But
No, it's the whole concept of, you know, there's you know, supposed quote unquote evil people. I don't believe in evil people, but people who do bad things, right? And then there's the opposite of, you know, good people who just don't do anything. And that's just as bad as the bad people doing the bad thing. If you're just sitting there watching it happen and you're not being like, excuse me, is this really like the appropriate
Did
time
you
to
think this
be
was
having
funny?
this discussion?
Yeah.
Like, Did you really think that was okay?
Explain it to me. I don't
Like,
get it. That's the best one to do when someone says some dumb racist shit. I don't get it. Please walk me through what.
What made that
I don't
what
understand.
made you find this amusing?
No,
Like,
I just pretend to not understand the joke. Just, oh, shucks,
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Right.
And make them walk you through it just to see if they'll do
Yeah.
it.
right.
Because they're relying heavily on the fact that I said a dirty joke or word or thing right there. It's the shock value. And no, it's.
No, but support your fellow police
country.
officers when you see this type of stuff happening.
Yeah.
It's important.
Again, if you want to empower the good ones, you have to have a system above them that
Yeah.
will respond.
Right.
No, and internal affairs that everyone is like afraid of because they're good at what they do.
Yeah. And they
And
mean it.
cooperating with because
Yeah.
they're really serious about
So
getting
I
the
can
scumbag
tell a
free.
story about a company I worked for many years ago where one evening a young woman who worked for me came to me and she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, what? And she said, my sister is being sexually harassed by her boss.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, you got to be kidding. And she said, no, it's really happening. And I said, well, we can fix that. But the two of us had confidence in our leadership.
Right.
And we went to our leadership and said, this is what we're hearing, right? This needs to stop. And
Yeah.
our leadership got bright orange and went to their leadership and said, this is what we're hearing, and it needs to be investigated and stopped.
Right.
The gentleman who was responsible did not finish his next shift. They
Nice.
took him to the gate and they took his badge.
Good. Fuck him.
Yep.
No,
Anyway,
and that's
and
how
it just-
these things should be handled.
She had
yeah.
no idea what to do. And she was off in a corner of the company that didn't have a lot of contact with their home organization and so forth.
Right.
And so, this was this little group of 20 or so people who were out on their own doing something important.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt free to put
Be
hands on her
inappropriate,
and and demand more,
Oh God.
which is what made her go to her sister.
Right.
So anyway, the point was that the company responded properly and aggressively,
Yes.
right? And if you've got that kind of support above, you'll get the reports from below. You won't
Agreed.
have to wonder if there's something going on that you should be aware of.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's again, leadership is everything.
Yep.
If the top of your pyramid is corrupt, nothing below it is right. Nothing.
Yeah.
You have to have leaders who are committed, who understand what's right and wrong, and are not willing to tolerate wrong.
Well,
Right.
and that's the soul of why capitalism's popularity is dropping. Is whether the bosses know it or not, wage theft accounts for more theft than crime.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
damn.
it 60 billion a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane number. And
And it's just not paying the overtime or whatever, or not paying the last checks. Now, restaurants are notorious for that one. Just changed the locks one night.
Yeah, no. When I was manager at one of my jobs, I was responsible when one of my other managers was away for going through everybody's, lists of the hours that they'd worked,
Yep.
and if they missed a punch or two, I would have to put them in, and I put them in based on their hours.
Yeah.
So if they didn't come to me before I put in those hours and say, oh, I worked an hour late or I came in an hour early or whatever,
Right.
they got gypped. But that's on them for two reasons. One, they didn't properly check in, check out for their lunch, whatever it was. But two, not coming to the management and telling, hey, these are the hours I actually worked that day.
Yeah.
But these are things you need to pay attention to as an employee, okay? Because we do go in and literally edit your punch cards. It's part of our job. Because if you missed a punch, we need to even that out, or your punches for the rest of the week are fucked up.
And then there's the rest of it where they're just stealing your overtime.
Oh no, I'm sure that there are
Yeah.
managers out there that will go in
Yes.
and actually adjust
That's
them.
how you get to 60 billion.
So pay attention to the hours that you work in a week.
Call
Keep-
your local labor board when
keep-
it happens.
Keep track of them yourself. And if you find any discrepancies in your paycheck, go to your manager. And if they don't fix it automatically for you, then you go above them to the labor boards.
And remember, you can check your local laws, but in many states you can get up to 3 years wages back.
Yeah. So keep track of that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, it's important.
Because some of there's a weird month or whatever. I get that, and
Even if it's just
I don't know,
5
depends-
minutes.
you know your job, I
That's
don't.
5 minutes that they need to pay you. You know, if you clocked out, but then you stayed an extra 10 minutes, you need to tell somebody that I need to get paid for those 10 minutes. Don't give them free labor. Nobody
But there
can
are lots
afford
of
it
places
nowadays.
that expect you to. So
And don't fucking work there.
I'm all for that.
No,
Right?
I used to.
Vote with your feet.
As an adult, I actually learned how to tell my bosses, no, I can't stay, no, I can't come in early, and no, I can't come in on my day off. That's hard to do because as a kid, it was instilled in me, you need to do all this extra stuff.
Yeah.
So if I had, for whatever reason, showed up 10 minutes late or whatever, I would stay 10 minutes late because that's just, and if they called me on my day off, I would come in because I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
You don't have to. That's not your job. Your job is to work the hours posted. End of discussion. If you want more hours, great, do it.
Well-
but if you don't feel like you have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And recognize that when you do something like that for the company, it has to be for a reason.
Right.
That you believe the company is going somewhere, that the company is raising wages as things get better for the company, et cetera, et cetera. If that's not happening, you don't owe them anything.
No.
They are buying your time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been insanely fortunate to have worked for a series of companies that took their people seriously.
Yeah.
Right. And most of it was, hard science and engineering and so forth, where it was harder to say, well, I'll just get, a different Fred next week.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't change the fact that that's the right way to behave.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a company that thinks your people are replaceable every day, fine. You should be looking for work somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And you should be looking for an opportunity to make yourself more valuable to the next company.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, if you're just a cog in a great machine and they think you're replaceable, screw them.
Yeah.
Leave them as soon as you can.
No, and
So-
that's part of the reason you guys were picking on me when I was saying I bounced around from job to job a lot.
Yeah.
But that was part of the reason is that I'd work a job and they'd say, "Oh, we're going to train you to be a manager or whatever."
Right.
And if they didn't do that,
Yeah,
I would
gone.
after a couple years I'd be like, "You had your chance. I'm out."
Yep. See ya.
Bouncing, and I'd go on to the bigger and better thing.
Yep.
But in general, if you're right. If you don't feel like you're making the progress you should be, or the progress that you're being promised
Yep.
on a regular basis, oh, don't worry, we'll get to that next week. Or things are really crazy because it's the holiday season. But after that, for surezies. Now, when you've gone through the holiday season and a
3
month
or 4
after,
times, yeah.
after that, you know what I mean? Nothing's happening.
Yep.
The other people are going to hire you. They need people right now. Right
Right.
now is the time for you to jump and say, fuck this noise, I'm out.
Yep.
Someone else will hire you for more.
Remind you that it's always better to find your new job before you tell your old job to stuff it.
Yes.
So anyway, and
Most of the
if they screw you going out the door,
Yeah, who cares?
file a criminal complaint.
Yeah.
So,
No, just again, check those numbers, check those hours, make sure you're getting paid what you work. That's all. So, all right. No, this has been a fun night. I think we had another. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been another exciting episode with y'all. We thank you for hanging out with us, for listening to us, and trusting us with your nearly daily news and politics. And we'll see you back here tomorrow on Boomer Rex Tonight.
You should have told him about the helicopters and the ghosts.